r/TikTok cringe. This forum post, this thread, this Reddit is called "Being a Woman is the Worst Thing You Can Be." r/TikTok cringe. Cool. Let's see what she's got to say. Let's jump into it.
Let's have a little chat, shall we? I made a video, a stitch, in response to someone saying that there's a male loneliness epidemic happening right now. My suggestion was to smile more, because I hear that that's helpful. And was that a cheap shot? It was. I'll own that. Could I have been the bigger person in that moment? Yes, absolutely. But if God wanted me to be the bigger person, she would have made me taller. And I'm 60 inches.
See, I just did a video about some comedy lady, and already this lady's much better. First of all, there's no God. Secondly, that's fine. Smile more. It's retaliation, sexism jokes. That's fine. It's all fun and dandy. I don't even know where I forgot what she said. Or at least if she was making a point. I was really clearly responding to what she was saying, but she hasn't gotten to a point yet. I just wanted to comment on that. But Queen?
No more, no less. And yes, I say inches because that is my preferred unit of measurement. But let me expand a little bit more for all of those men that are super angry in my comments, which is this. A society that is created and run by men is not beneficial to you. It's not beneficial to me or to anyone. And here's why. As a mother raising boys...
You act as if like the people who run the world being men are the sole reason as to why things suck. As if them being women makes it any different. No, there's people in positions of power who vie for that power through destruction, through terror, through selfishness. Like the status quo is the way that it is because it benefits those people who are in those positions. It's not because of their gender, all right? It's because they're wealthy and powerful, and they use that to batter people into submission, into their roles, so that they can be benefited as a result. Like, you honestly think that if women were in positions of power that the world would be better? No. Women are human. Men are human. Humans are the problem. Oh, but is that not like because of the stupid ass biological tendency to be tribalistic? Does that not make you feel good? Oh, I gotta file people into these groups and then I can judge them based on the group I filed them into. And that means that's how that works. That's reality. And we can judge people entirely based off that. It's like not to say that there's some legitimacy to judging based on these generalizations, but like to act as if those things solely, single-handedly reflect how reality unfolds, it's like, no. There's endless amounts of nuance and subtlety to life. That's not, you can't just break it down based on that. But we're all screwed by people in those positions, and we're not screwed by them because they're men. We're screwed by them because they're selfish, they're evil, they're parasitic, they're wealthy and powerful. They maintain their positions of power through being all those things. So, off to a bad start. But I like you're not a bad speaker, so let's keep going.
I quickly realized that from a very, very young age, the narrative that we push as a society is for boys to be men, to grow up and be men. But no one actually says what being a man is. They just say what being a man isn't, which is being a woman, exhibiting feminine qualities and behaviors. And what are those qualities and behaviors? Empathy, compassion, love, human connection in the form of expressing and communicating your feelings.
No. That should be a baseline default expectation of humans. I mean, you are correct in making that as the quantification of those are perceived as feminine qualities, but like, no, those should be decent human qualities, not based on gender. Okay. I did point out that you're saying that this is how these things are perceived. Although I'm not entirely sure what's going on up here. I mean, you could legitimately think that those are feminine qualities, having empathy and trying to understand and be decent and have love, as if that's a woman thing. But let's keep going. You're teetering here.
All of those things are bad. All of those things are negative. Any emotion that is outside of happiness, anger, or horniness, you're gay. You're a pussy. The worst you can be. So then these boys grow up and become men, and they look around and realize, wow, I don't actually have a meaningful connection with anyone because I never knew how.
Well, that's part of it, not knowing how, but also like it's not just that. It's both men and women tend to reinforce these archetypes that discourage men from being those things. It's like a lot of women, like, dude, just check out like dating tips on towards men, like how to pick up women and such. Indifference, like maintaining a masculine frame. These things are reinforced. You're rewarded for being those things, and if you show the contrary, it's like you're punished for it. How I don't know if you've heard the stigma of like if you cry in front of your girlfriend or something or your wife, it's like you're perceived as less attractive because you haven't fulfilled your perceivably masculine role. You want to pretend that these are things that men enforce upon men and women or just men. It's everyone. Everyone does it. We're all part of the shit. We all act in ways to reinforce everyone manifesting their roles because we believe that's just the way things should be, right? You're supposed to do this if you're this. You're supposed to do that if you're that. Humans, it's just human nature. Humans being mindless, disgusting, grotesque animals. We're all at fault for this shit. We all contribute to it. You ever hear of the stigma of if a guy gets beaten up in front of his girlfriend, the girlfriend will lose a little bit of interest in him? It's like, oh, you're not maintaining your masculine frame. You showed what I perceive to be weakness because you're not able to inflict physical harm upon another person. To defend me, to defend yourself. It may be biology that motivates that shit, but this stuff is entirely real, and you can't just point the finger at this specific demographic of people who contribute to this as reality. It's men and women that do this, not just men. Men are in positions of power because they've manifested the absolute worst traits in order to acquire said power. Usually decent people aren't in those positions, whether it's man or woman. It just so happens to be men. Because history, because of those seemingly masculine traits, right? How you quantify feminine traits being empathy and the capacity for love, which I think that's fucking ridiculous. That should be a human thing, something everyone should be capable of as humans. But if you're constantly discouraged from doing such, from showing these types of things, then it's like, what did you expect? Both men and women contribute to that. Keep going.
Do we see the correlation here? Which is probably why the majority of mass shooters are men, or why the rates are through the roof for men, and why men in general grow up to not respect women. They're sexually attracted to women, but they don't actually respect women. Why? Because they were raised with this idea that being a woman, exhibiting any sort of feminine qualities was the absolute worst negative thing that you could be.
I like how you pretend that that's not a two-way street. That women are also raised to not respect men, to see them as objects that fulfill a purpose. It's almost as if all humans view other humans in a certain way that is specifically designed to benefit themselves, to make themselves feel a certain way. You think that's specific to men? No. You're only pointing it out because that's a detriment to you. You only give a shit about the way that you believe you're perceived by men in the world, when in all reality, all humans contribute to the status quo. But you want to distance yourself and act like, oh, this is the problem over here. I have nothing to do with that. I did everything correctly. Let me tell you what you're doing wrong. Gross. Well, you're no better. You're no better than all that crap that you're pointing out. But here you are, talking about it, preaching about it, as if there's some further legitimacy to what you're saying, because why? You're a woman? That makes your opinion on this a little bit more valid, House? Like, from a person who's not entirely, like, from a person who has no context to you or anything, like, they would probably look at you and be like, okay, you're a woman. What do you know about what it takes to be a man? Not to take to be, well, yeah, in terms of the way that other people perceive you as to what it takes to be a man, but also the experience of being a man, being treated as a man. You have no idea what that's like, so it's so easy for you to judge what's going on over here when you're operating on the outside of it. But having gone through it, would your opinion really be the same? I mean, if somebody else indoctrinated you into saying shit like this, if you were in the mix, if you actually experienced what it was truly like, which you have no idea. And I'm not here saying that I know what it's like to be you. I can judge based on where I'm coming from. Anyone can. Your opinion is just as valid as mine, but in the end of the day, it's still all worthless, meaningless garbage. Things are gonna play out. They're gonna unfold in reality, whichever frickin' way they do, just because that's how it goes. Things aren't meant to happen. Things just happen because the things that happened before that thing happened before that thing happened, which caused that thing to happen. determinism, casual determinism. We're almost at the end of it. And also, just because you raise boys doesn't make your opinion more valid on this particular subject. It's like you being able to make proper insights, you having context to the experience, and understanding through an empathetic lens, right? This thing that you're toting as a feminine trait, which again, I think that's garbage. Like that should presumably, that is what would make your opinion more valid. But I don't know. I sense judgment. I sense condescension. But let's get to the end of this.
Very interesting. So I think personally that the narrative needs to change. And that starts with all of us, especially if you're raising boys, because what we've been doing is clearly dangerous and damaging. Just food for thought.
Wow, thank you so much. You contributed so much to the world by making this TikTok. The same thing is applied to people who are raising women. Don't raise them to be entitled. Don't treat them like princesses. Don't treat them as if they're special, because they're not. Nobody's special just because they exist. We should all be treating each other with decency, but not more or less based on whatever demographic you're filed under. We should expect everyone to be competent, intelligent, capable individuals who are rational, who don't use their emotions to guide their judgment, who are able to discern tangible reality through a logical lens instead of just based on their garbage feelings. So at least you got that last part right. We are all culpable for it. Sure, you're right about that. But hey man, at the end of the day, what does either of this do? What does my video do to help the world? What does your video do? Nothing. Nothing. It's kind of just for us and the people who are listening. So thank you for watching.